Okay, sometimes a train wreck is just a thing of beauty. In this case, $120 million of train wreck beauty. Watching idiots duke other idiots out of millions of dollars and then just watching them burn it in pointless projects is beguiling to watch. For instance, Fontus, the self-filling water bottle, which after about $250,000 turned out not to be a self-filling water bottle at all, but a Peltier effect dehumidifier, something that's been around for decades. Or the water seer, which was going to provide free water for all the poor people in desert areas around the world. And guess what? After $250,000, it's now a Peltier effect dehumidifier, which I kid you not, they're not selling for $130 anymore, but almost $1,000. Yep, it does almost nothing of what it originally claimed it would do and costs over 5 times the price. More on that in an upcoming video. And if you think this retarded idea of getting water from thin air is finished, you hope in vain. The BBC just ran this article on how getting water from thin air is the future. Well, maybe. It's called rain. Or solar roadways, whose first installation cost about $500,000, and I kid you not, now generates about 2 cents of electricity per day. Or the Triton Gill, which raised about $1 million, even though it was complete bullshit, and it got pulled, only to be replaced a few years later by the almost equally useless Skorkel, which raised over $1 million Australian dollars. Yeah, I should bust that one too, along with some of these, and I kid you not, these are real. The air conditioning watch, which raised over 2 million Hong Kong dollars, or the self-winding watch, which raised over $1.5 million. Yeah, with all of this, it's hardly surprising that America elected a used car salesman for president. But this one just kind of takes the biscuit in terms of scale. It's almost, but not quite as stupid as spending $150 million to build a Noah's Ark-shaped creationist museum complete with dinosaurs. Because of course, kids, we all know that Noah took dinosaurs onto the Ark, right?
And we're very happy to welcome Doug Evans, the founder of Juicero, to the Too Embarrassed to Ask show. Doug, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love you guys.
Loved the idea. Other people asked, why might I want to spend $700 on a Wi-Fi connected juicer?
Well, this idea pulled in a whopping $120 million of funding from Silicon Valley.
How much money did you raise?
We raised north of $120 million.
Whoa. And from?
Kleiner Perkins, Google Ventures, Campbell Soup, Thrive Capital,
That's a lot of
Artist
money.
Ventures.
Yeah.
For the great idea of essentially doing for juicers what capsule coffee did for coffee. Except it wasn't. The whole thing was based on the idea that rich idiots would pay $700 for a Wi-Fi equipped giant juice machine in their kitchen.
And it seemed
Well,
impossible.
it's big. It's a big device. The Juicero is a big device. But you need that for the power of the pressing, correct?
Yeah, well, 10 inches is, I mean, it's the same size of...
Which, fine, I'm sure they would. But then they would have to order juice from the same company, which would be about $5 to $10 per pop.
And then each of those packs costs what? How much?
$5, $6, and $7 each. So it's releasing CO2 and it's consuming oxygen. So it has a 6-day shelf life in the home. So it's a perfectly balanced item that lasts for 6 days in the home.
You can't freeze it or anything else.
No, if you freeze it, you end up compromising the cellular structure.
And if you didn't use the juice within a week or so, the machine would just refuse to press the juice. Meaning you have to throw the stuff away. How did the machine ensure that you would have to throw the stuff away? Well, each pack had a QR code on it, and the machine, for its $700, had a QR code reader and then connected to the internet. And if your juice wasn't the right brand or was expired, it just wouldn't work at all.
I knew when it was expiring. So once the pack goes in there, it won't press an expired pack.
Okay.
So that's key.
Sort of planned hyper-obsolescence. And you could only get these juice packs from Juicero via mail order, in packs of 5 at a time. But this also meant that they couldn't ship their juice very far because otherwise it would expire before it got there.
Oh, and by the way, if your internet's down, don't plan on making juice, because it is not happening.
And maybe, as you might expect, the genius behind this compared himself to Steve Jobs.
And I said, I'm going to do what Steve did. I'm going to take the mainframe computer and create a personal computer. I'm going to take a mainframe juice press, and I'm going to create a personal juice press.
Steve being the Steve.
The Steve, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, which, I worked with Steve on the next corporate identity. And
Not only that, this guy's a philanthropist. He wants to have Juicero cafes set up where people below the poverty line can spend up to $10 a day to get a fresh fruit juice. Just to show how in touch he is with people below the poverty line.
I have a row of Juicero machines. The customer, where 50% of the population is below the poverty line in Silver Lake, they can buy the pack and go press their own juice. They don't even need to buy the machine.
And then they just leave it.
If someone is buying...
If you drink juice every day and you're spending $10 a day.
It's a bargain.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not. $10 a day would be $3,500 per year. Even funnier, they claim the machine produced about 4 tons of pressure, with latches that would hold up to 8 tons of force.
There's latches that support 16,000 pounds of force. So this is basically a monster of a machine.
Only to have Bloomberg show that you could get the juice out of the bags quicker and with the same quality by just squeezing it with your hands.
I'm surprised. I thought it was just juice in a bag and you just squeezed it into your glass. That's for some reason I just thought that.
Yeah, you wouldn't need a $699 device to do that.
People will buy
right. So it's the
anything.
pressure that you're paying for.
Yeah.
Our founder, Doug, is straight up made of juice.
Literally, there's juice in my veins.
All right.
You probably know at least
Say-
10
you can
people
say
that
them.
bought it.
I probably
Karen.
do, but I have 10 people who are really stupid too. But I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, bloody hippies. Tell them it'll make them healthy and they'll pay anything.
And I thought, what can I do that can have the greatest impact on humanity, on human health? We would create a business called Organic Avenue where you could go in and everything was going to be made out of fresh, ripe, raw, organic fruits and vegetables.
Because you were quoted as saying in a previous article, not all juice is equal. How do you measure life force? How do you measure chi? We had a follow-up question from at Nitin Gupta 2, who asks, yes, how much chi does it contain per serving?
But, people will tend to, make jokes about things.
Right.
For me, I'm serious as a heart attack. So when I describe chi and life force,
Me, I was on a cheap-ass McDonald's diet. Not exactly gourmet or anything, but I ate junk food for about a month and came back much fitter and healthier, as well as a few kilos lighter, which might have something to do with climbing big-ass mountains every other day.
Go to the Mayo Clinic. I mean, the very top of the page, it says juicing is not any healthier than eating whole fruits and vegetables. I'm not saying you're claiming it's any healthier, but
Anyway, long story short, Juicero, just over a year after launch and some $120 million of investment, says that it's shutting down. And there's part of me that secretly rejoices at this stuff. All right, I wasn't the one to bust this. But when you claim your press produces 4 tons of force only to be outperformed by someone squeezing the bag, man, that's juicy. And while we're on the subject of people just throwing money at things and hoping this will somehow make a really stupid idea possible, Hyperloop One has now pulled in almost $250 million, dwarfing Elon Musk's mere $10 million track. This has got to be one of the biggest money-burning parties in history. I mean, just to put this into perspective, Elon Musk's dirt-cheap subscale test track was about $10 million for 1 kilometer, meaning that $250 million would merely buy you about 25 kilometers of subscale test track. Or develop 2 Juiceros, your choice. Also, I can tell you, because I've actually been out to that test track, that they've built it in the absolute middle of nowhere, with their offices and a road at one end of the track, so they can't extend it that way, and mountains at the other end, so there's no chance that they can extend this kilometer or so long test track. In any event, where would you extend it to? It's in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. Trust me, I've been there.
As you can see, there is a murderous bustle of activity at this huge facility that will undoubtedly be the future of transport for the entire planet, that can only go not as far as... It's quite funny, actually. So this is just the access road. Focus. That's the access road just for the power line. And that is the entire Hyperloop. Well, of Hyperloop 1 anyway.
Interestingly, Richard Branson, another billionaire, was really impressed with this and bought a large share in Hyperloop 1 to make it Virgin Hyperloop.
I mean, Virgin has gone into the Hyperloop business, and we've invested in the company that is in the lead as far as developing Hyperloop, which will now be called Virgin Hyperloop. It'll be a train that goes into a tunnel that levitates on magnetic levitation, and will travel at speeds of over 600 miles an hour. I was completely blown away. I mean, I think it's strange just going out into the Las Vegas desert and seeing this enormous tunnel running across the desert.
And that is the entire Hyperloop. Well, of Hyperloop 1 anyway.
Which is especially funny when you watch the videos of their acquisition, and it looks like they really don't have a good idea of what they've bought.
Think about broadband. At the heart of it is a network that has digital packets that go very fast. 3 types of packets: data, voice, and video.
And again, the internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes.
Think about Hyperloop. At the heart of it is a network with 3 types of physical packets: packets of people, packets of freight, packets of car, that can all go on a very fast pipe or connection that can go first mile to last mile in an autonomous way. We believe it's the emergence of physical broadband.
It's an empty shell. And yes, the empty shell is a great metaphor for what it is. That's why you never see inside this capsule. And all it does is go up and down a kilometer-long track in the desert. Like I was saying, this is just one of the biggest money-burning parties in history. Many thanks to all those who support this, at times, soul-destroying work. And if you like media like this and want to support it, you'll find the links to Patreon below.